our studio showed the turkey problem, but my turkey. Only 4 of us, but I went and bought that 20 pound.
I'll say,
I'm one of those guys.
Was the honeysuckle the 24 pound?
I'm one of those. I think there was a meme. You don't need a 20-pound turkey if you're cooking it just for yourself.
Who says I don't? This is America.
It was the one person pulling it out, and there's no more turkeys in the bin, and they got the family. I mean, if I'm gonna smoke it, I'm gonna get my smoker up and running. I'm not gonna do a small turkey.
You want to
Why
My
waste
wife
it?
is like, "Oh my God, there's gonna be loads of turkey left over," and I said, "We'll freeze it. We got more stuff we can do with it."
It sounds like we got turkey. Man, we just,
I'm actually not a huge fan.
I really, if it's smoked turkey, it's got to be done pretty good. I'm a huge skin guy. I like the skin, but smoked chicken and turkey skin is usually pretty rubbery.
You know why? Because normally when you smoke it at a lower temperature than what you roast it at. So if you cook turkey in the oven and you kept the cover, you might not get that crispy. So yeah, I'll smoke it, and then what I'll probably do is move it in to the oven at like 425 just to try to crisp it up.
That's smart.
It all depends on how hot I run the smokers.
Yeah, I got a crappy little Academy smoker. We'll just throw on that every chicken.
Okay, full turkey. It's gonna be good. But I did have to laugh because I did do the all natural turkey because I'm gonna brine it as well. And a lot of the turkeys that you buy are self-basting, which means they've been brined already and injected with the salt solution. Yeah, so that salt solution kind of helps the turkey from drying out. But you know, there's some discussion if I brine it with my own seasonings and stuff, I might not get the flavor inside the meat. But if you don't, turkey hasn't been injected before, then the brine kind of has it. That's what I was looking for. So then in the HEB, they had the big middle thing filled with turkeys, not just turkeys. Apparently there's a whole hog's head on one side,
Nice.
cubed tripe on one side. All right, but I found out the ducks are not in that location anymore. They're actually someplace else. But that's beyond. I just had to laugh at people that were there. But found the turkeys, found the all natural ones, and one was actually marketed as like HEB natural, like all natural turkey, fresh, never frozen. It's on the label, and I grab them. They are rock solid frozen. Oops. Yeah, they also HEB's running. You buy the spiral sliced ham, you get a free turkey up to like 12-pound turkey. Yep. Contemplating doing that, but again, I'm not a huge turkey person. You love me some ham. I also know that I'm donating blood platelets on Tuesday, so I'll get a coupon for a free turkey.
All the free turkeys.
I am gonna set them up. Might do. I don't know if I'll do turkey for Christmas or not. If we have it. Yeah. My wife doesn't like ham.
I'm not a huge
I'm
ham
not
guy
a huge
either.
turkey person.
Not a huge ham guy unless it's put together.
We've compromised. The last 2 years, it's been tamales for Christmas Eve.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, our neighbors brought some homemade stuff over. Oh, they were good. And then I think it was last year for Christmas, I made pierogies, which are Polish dumplings, basically. And you can buy them frozen, but they only have one kind, which is I think the potato and cheese. But I did a sauerkraut one, and I did the potato and cheese, cheddar potato.
Just fill the whole pierogi with sauerkraut and made it? Or did you like mix
No,
it
it's
with
mixed
something?
in. So the interior is mashed potatoes, and then you mix in your seasoning. So we've had a couple of years back. There's a pierogi festival
Interesting.
up where I grew up, I can't believe I wasn't ever going there earlier in my life. But they had mushrooms one. They had a mushroom one, mushroom filling. You had I like the sauerkraut filling. They did sausage. You know, the Italian sausage, they did ground beef. I mean, there's just so many different kinds, and it's just like any other dumpling. So you can get like the dumplings at Chinese places, right? And it's a thinner type of dough compared to the pierogies, but they're similar. You can put anything you want. And they look. I just know my countertop is like a tiled countertop, and you can't roll out the dough on that. So I moved it to my dining room table, bending over and rolling it out and getting it cut and hurt. Made my back sore. So I don't know how I'm going to do this. All right, so I mean we're done with our lectures. Today was just going to answer questions that you had. So we had the homework, right? And I posted all of those like final exam prep problems. So I mean, if you started going through there and you felt confident, you know, answering these questions, that's great. But if you have questions, we can answer them now. Cody did email me say that. Apparently, I did something like this. I didn't have the word doc template at the top, so if you knit it, it could appear differently. What you could always do is open up some of our older versions that actually had the word template docx file in there and just copy and paste that part, the output. It'll. Yeah. Question? Yep.
On this homework, if the one-way test Wilson and Nova shows that there's no difference between groups, are you wasting your time by running? Is there no post-hoc test needed?
No post-hoc test is needed.
Okay, so I'll waste like a huge amount of time. All right.
Probably,
That's the
yeah.
last one.
Yep.
Yep, same.
Wasted a huge amount of time. There's a lot of different types.
Yeah.
Yeah. the 6 different types of popcorn. Right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could you like,
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it was
there was.
okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Open?
Yeah, it's like the default or whatever.
Oh yeah. The default, yeah,
Yeah, it did
just
include it.
swap that with word template docx or something.
It's just fine.
Yeah, it would have. It just didn't. It doesn't apply the template. It doesn't apply the styles and stuff. That's all it's gonna do. All right. So you did this. This popcorn. That's what you're asking.
Yep.
No, that's
Yeah, no need for any of the any post-hoc test.
no, and that's why we kind of did this part. This. So anytime you had are the means different? It was yes or no. If it's no, it's stop. You're just done there. There's no difference in means. You can't go further. Now, if you did do one of these, if you continue to use pairwise tests and you get a significant difference, it's not real. That's a type 1 error. That's a type 1 error at that point.
It was showing difference.
Oh, it did show some differences between a couple?
No, it still didn't.
Okay.
No, because my last few values were all high.
So on the test, if we just play it safe and we run a flippant cooling test whenever we're supposed to run like a ground foresight test, because we think it might be slightly non-normal, would that be like a minus points?
Not sure if everyone heard you on that.
So when we run the QQ plot, like I think on that homework,
Yeah, Maddie agrees. Pierogies are the best, and it's not you cook them because then what you do with it, you fry up some onions with some butter, and then even though the pierogies are cooked, you brown them on that. You get a little bit of crispy, and then you can have sour cream as a side to eat with them. Oh, yeah. And then we did whiskey with that on Christmas, which is like
Sounds very Polish.
oh yeah,
Sounds very
absolutely.
Polish.
All right, so yeah, your question was, do we have test says to run Brown Forsyth and you run Flickner clean?
Well, no, so on the homework you said determine which assumptions are violated.
Okay.
On the lake data, I thought that maybe Lake Mallard might have not been normal. So I just went ahead and ran the Fligner clean test, just to be safe. Like, if that was on a test, and that was a question, would I have gotten that question wrong because I didn't run it around Forsyth, or what?
No. So if it says check your assumptions, you check your assumptions, how you see fit. If I say run a Brown Forsyth and you run Flickner clean, yes, it'll be wrong. If I say run Flickner clean and you run a Brown Forsyth, it'll be wrong. But your only hope for a point is if you interpreted the results of the test correctly. So if it's worth, let's say, 3 points or 4 points, and this is kind of like what all the tests are. Like 1 point is just for like interpretation and the write-up. And if you didn't interpret it correctly, the test, even though you ran the completely wrong test, if you interpreted it correctly, then yeah, I'll give you credit. But there's a difference. If you run, I say, hey, run, Brown Forsyth, and then all of a sudden you run a sign test and you get a p-value and you tell me, oh, variances are equal because p-values less than 0.05. You don't even get credit for that, for interpreting correctly, because a sign test doesn't test variances, right? I mean, it's got to be close. And then I'm sure people are thinking, oh, I'll just run the only test that I know and I get some credit. Hey, you will, but you'll have like 5% of the total. Just like you'll score 5% on that part. But yes,
Okay, but
on the questions that say, hey, check this assumption, and I don't leave it open. Normally it means choose the correct way to test the assumption, because then there's a point for choosing the correct method. Points for actually running the method, points for interpreting and doing that write-up. So the interpretation is part of the write-up.
But if we have any kind of doubt on normality, because QQ plots, sometimes they could go either way. If we have any doubt on normality, we should go with Fligner, probably, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Question: who has their antelope data set open that has been run?
Got it.
All right. Are all your p-values the same?
For the post hoc test?
Yeah, the permutational t-test.
Yes.
Are they all the same?
Yeah.
Do they happen to be like the minimum value of the p-value?
Before correction.
Should be.
Yeah, before correction and then after correction.
They were still the same, they just weren't that point.
Yep.
They weren't that 9.9.
Nope. So Billy asked. She got all the same p-values for those pairwise permutational t-tests. Did they do something wrong? If they're all the same as in the minimum of the p-value, 1 over 10,001, then it's probably correct, especially if you look at a graph and you can clearly see that they look different, the means look different. I'm not worried about that. The only time that I start questioning it is if it looks like some groups, the means are equal or the medians look equal on the graph, and then I'm getting the same for all of them. They shouldn't be. We know that one of them is probably really close. That p-value should be much higher. The other situation is if you get a p-value of 1 on these tests, on these randomization tests, you should really go back and double check your code. Make sure you're working with the correct data set. Make sure you have the correct variables. Make sure you didn't change something in. Welch's. Make sure you didn't change something in here. So most likely case, most likely scenarios that I see is you get the same p-value no matter what. All right. When does that come up? Sometimes comes up here, where they're doing their sample, but they've changed this value or this value so that it never really changes. Right? Now, I've written the script so that the only two lines that you change are those. All right? But sometimes you're playing around with it and you say, okay, I'm just going to mess around and update some of this other stuff. That could throw problems. If you get a p-value of 1, it means everything's greater, which is possible. But oftentimes, that kind of comes down to this, the f-observed value. Maybe that wasn't correct. Or maybe you're using a different variable. So if I say, we're looking at survival as a function of color, and there's a second data set or something like that, and you had f-observed left over from someplace, and there's things that can go wrong. Anytime I get a p-value of 1, I always go back and check, okay, what's going on? I look at the histogram of these f-rands. What do they look like? If it's just a single bar, something went wrong. What produces that? Normally it's here. Is that if someone, instead of copying and pasting it, somebody tries to type it out manually, and then they often forget, forgetting that changes it, because your f-rand is just a single value and it just keeps changing over and over and over again. So then when you do this, well, is that value greater than that value? Yes or no? And that's why you'll get thrown off. So if you copy and paste and then just update the lines that I tell you, we'll be okay. The grad stats is a little bit different. That's where we're going to have to update some stuff. Other questions? Exams. The application portion goes live on Friday. Right. Goes live on Friday. It is due 5 p.m. on Monday. All right. It's due 5 p.m. on Monday. I plan to be here until at least 5 o'clock. So if there's problems with knitting, I can help you. But don't wait till 4:45, 5 o'clock, 5 till 5 to knit, because that's a hard deadline. I'm not going to go over it. You'll have all day Friday, all day Saturday, all day Sunday, basically all day Monday to get this done. And it'll be a little bit longer than maybe a homework problem, but it shouldn't take you 6 hours. If it does take you 6 hours, then maybe you've learned something because you're in your notes actually, trying to find how to do this. Maybe that is the learning part of it. I know that when I go through to make the key, it'll probably take me 20 to 25 minutes to make the key, just because of all the typing. I have to type out everything in the chunks. And that's just going on what I have. All right. So the application part will go live on Friday. You've got multiple days to get done. All right. If you run into problems, if you run into errors, you can email me. Some of the errors will be simple. Some of the errors might be a little bit harder, and I might say, hey, I need you to actually show me what was the code that produced the error. And copy paste it so I can see it. The theoretical part of the exam will go live on Monday. All right, and that's going to be on Blackboard. That part, it'll go live early in the morning, probably 3 in the morning, in case anyone works 8-hour shifts and they want to take it before they go into work. They can do that. But that one is until 11:30 at night. That's going to be, that will have some fill in blank, that will have some calculations. So I might ask you to calculate some probabilities. We did do probabilities, Bayesian probabilities and stuff. We'll have some of those that you'll do. All right. What I will try to do is to try to put try to put those problems, those calculations at the end, and at least tell you we've got X number of ones that require you to do a calculation by hand. And you can use R to do them if you wanted to, have it open, but basically it's going to be the probability stuff. All right. Review your definitions, review rounding, review what an implied limit is, right? Any questions? I don't know how long that exam is, so I know the application part's 80 points. And then the Blackboard stuff will probably be 50 points or so. 50 points. Because it'll likely be about 1 point per question. Minus, if we do like the Bayesian, I may ask you to give me a couple different answers. Just remember the round. I'll tell you where to round. You round it to that point. There will be questions like we had on this last exam where I say, here's the data sets. This is what we want to do. What test should you run? All right. Things like, okay, this is what we have. What kind of display should we run or should we make? All right. So that is kind of big part of our application understanding that. Any other questions? Any questions on those at home? Is the homework going okay? Other than, I will. Has it? Who's knitted? You've knitted. Anyone else knitted? How long does it take? The warning. So when it knits, it runs each chunk. So those chunks that have the randomization, it adds time to the knit. So don't be surprised if it looks like it gets stuck. It's on a chunk that's doing the permutation test. Yeah. Wow. So Lily said it took 5 minutes. Just be aware, and that's, since we have permutation tests on the exam, just be aware that can happen. It won't take 8 hours. All right. Anything else? Yes, no. I will be around most of the day on Monday. Minus lunch. Probably go out, exercise during lunch. Be in there in the morning, afternoon. This room should be open. All right. Yeah, no questions. We're done. We're not going to start anything new. At this point, we would have done categorical variables. So return to that whole Poisson distribution, binomial distribution, frequency tables, and did learn how to do a chi-square test, the Q test, the randomized versions of it, which the chi-square test is really easy. So in our help file, you'll see it. If you're curious, chi-square.test. Chi-square.test has this simulate.p.value. So if you're ever in the situation of doing a chi-square test, chi-square has assumptions that how many observed and expected values you need in each cell. All right, one of the common ones is you can't have a value less than 0 or less than 1. All right, so if you expected to see some items, but you actually saw 0, that you violated chi-square at that point. You can't run it. But what you could do is run this this randomized chi-square, and in R they actually have that simulate.p.value equals false. Change that to true, and it will generate a null distribution, but on which it compares the chi-square value or your observed chi-square value. Really easy, and it actually does it pretty quickly. for large data sets as well. Steve stuttered, but how we've done it, we haven't optimized randomization procedures. This one does. All right. All right. If you have questions this week, just please email me. I will also be around on Friday. Good chunk of the day. So if you were going to start on this application stuff, I can be around. And there's nothing that says you can't like wait to turn it in, or like there's nothing that says you have to turn it in like right at between 4 or 5 o'clock. You can turn it in early. Oh, we had a question. What is the response rate for the IDEA? I don't know. Guess we should look.
What? The idea for the
Yeah, IDEA surveys. Man, I was at 90% for the ecology class.
wow.
That's great. Yeah, if you do it, they stop sending you emails. Ooh, there we go. We're at 65% right now. So check my announcement. We've got 23 students enrolled. We're at 65% response rate. 3 days remaining. Due on December 1st. Oh no, that's when the results are available. It's due by the end of the day on Friday. So that's 65% of 23. Figure that out. Ooh, I bet we have 15. We've got 8 people that have not completed it. So that's where we're at. Check the announcements. It's on the extra credit. I made that announcement. That'll appear on the overall grade. So once we finish up the class, we'll add percent that we get on these IDEA forms to that overall grade. And the breakdown, I mean, you'll get some right now. What was? 1 percentage point. 67%, 7%. Could be significant. All right. All right. We're good. Don't forget the